So I'm just finishing up making a Strongman marionette. Now usually the Strongman puppets that I do are much bigger than this, but I've been asked to do one in a smaller size. This puppet's going to be about 9 inches, which is, for a carved puppet, particularly a trick puppet, is pretty small. So there's been a few challenges as regards some of the jointing, particularly with the gripping hands, in order to make sure that everything's strong enough but still works well enough in terms of the lifting part of it. But this puppet's also going to have bulging eyes mechanism. Now I've done this slightly different way than I did on the big puppet. Again, it's a small carving, and the mechanism that I've made is slightly different because of the sizing of the puppet, so I've had to use some slightly different materials, but it's actually a very simple mechanism how it works. So all I've done is, for the two eyeballs here, which are 12mm wooden balls, I've attached them to some metal rods here, and I've attached this wooden crossbar which holds them together and keeps them aligned in that plane. So also there is a third metal bar here which goes through this wooden crossbar, and obviously the hole is bigger, very slightly bigger, so it allows for it to move along that bar nice and free flowing for the movement of the eyes. Now in the back of the head we have 3 holes. These two are alignments and guides for the 2 prongs for the eyeballs, and the third one is an alignment for this middle bar here. So these 2 big holes for the eyeballs are bigger again, so they allow obviously this to move in and out freely. This middle one here is a slightly tighter fit, and it grips this bar here. So we've got 3 points, so we should get a nice straight slide backwards and forwards once that's aligned into there, and get those all lined up. Oh, need to put the head on the right way around. Get those lined up like so, and you should see it's nice and free to go in and out. Now that's quite important, because I was thinking about having a spring loaded mechanism here, so a spring behind the rod here which would keep this pushed backwards, and then you would pull the string which would compress the spring and make the eyes go forwards. But I think, actually, having tried it, because of the size of the head, there's not much weight here in the head. It's very light, obviously, because of the size of it. So we don't want any friction, really, anything to interfere with the movement. So a spring would make it harder. Obviously, you have to counteract the force of the spring to get these eyeballs to pop out. So if you had a string coming out the front here which is pulling this wooden bar forwards, you've got to compress that spring, which means that it's likely that you'll get movement on the head. If you're pulling hard to compress that spring, you're going to get a movement of the head upwards. Now if this puppet had a solid rod through the top of its head, that would negate that movement. So it's another reason why I quite like the solid rod puppets. But we're going to do a video on that controller mechanism soon, and we'll talk about the advantages and disadvantages of those. But anyway, so what I've decided here is to just do this with 2 strings. So I'm going to have 1 string at the front and 1 string at the back. So one will pull it forwards, and the other one will pull it backwards. Then at the controller end of the puppet, I can make the positioning and the action work properly. So with one part of the control will as one string comes up, the other string goes down. We can sort that out at the controller end, which once I've done that, I'll perhaps show you a little video of that as well. But just thought it was worthwhile mentioning these things, particularly with trick puppets. They do need a bit of thinking about, and what you think might work. As I say, when I've made this puppet before in bigger size, I wasn't able to do it the same way because it had more wooden parts in it, and there's just no room and no strength to the parts that I need. So I've had to sort of rethink it. But in actual fact, it's probably a better mechanism in some ways. It's less complicated, and hopefully I'm going to put the stringing in and we'll see if it works. But all that's going to happen is I'm going to drill out a hole at the back of the head here, so the string will come down through the back of the head and then turn and pull this bar this way, and then the opposite on the front. I'm going to have a clear string coming down through the top of the head here and out above, just above that rod there, and what that will do is pull it forward. So one string pulls the mechanism forwards, the other string will pull it backwards, and that's what will give our in and out eye popping, and then we will sort out the rest of it, as I say, at the controller end of things. So I just thought I'd show you that, and I haven't made a video for a while, so I thought we'd update with a little one. There'll be more videos coming soon, and we will work on perhaps building a bigger version of the Strongman. At some point we'll do that on Patreon, but at the moment we're working through Pinocchio, and he's very nearly finished. We're just getting to the final stages of our Pinocchio at the moment, so if you want to come in and join in, then head on over to Patreon and start making some puppets.